Hello, my friends. Today, let's start with what Trump said. He announced that he will meet with Zelensky next week.
I will probably be meeting with President Zelensky next week, and I will probably be talking to President Putin. I'd like to see that war end for one primary reason. They're killing so many people. You're losing millions of people on a battlefield. In this case, mostly the battlefield. You have 800,000 or 900,000 Russian soldiers are dead and very badly wounded, and the same thing with Ukraine. You have probably 700,000 with Ukraine. The numbers they gave are a little bit lower than that, but I believe those numbers aren't correct. I'd like to see it end just on a human basis. It's terrible what's going on. They have open fields with no protection. The only thing a bullet can hit is a human body, and the human body dies as soon as it gets hit. Now, I'd like to see that end. It's a ridiculous war. It would have never started if I were president. That war would have never started. Putin would not have started that war if I were president. And by the way, you wouldn't have had October 7th if I was president either. That mess would not have started. But no, I would very much like to help out. One of the things we're looking at with President Zelensky is having the security of their assets. They have assets underground, rare earth and other things, but primarily rare earth. And we want to have security. Really, we want security because, as you know, Europe is putting up much less money than us, NATO, Europe, call it whatever you want. And we're at probably 300 billion plus, and they're at probably, the real number is 100 billion. That's a lot of money, but it's 200 billion less than us, and there's an ocean in between. And they need it more than us. So we're asking them to equalize and get even, but we're
So next week, Trump has suggested that he will talk with Zelensky and then with Putin. With Zelensky, he plans to discuss what resources Ukraine will give up in exchange for a possible ceasefire and, as we already know, for the weapons previously supplied. But when a ceasefire will actually happen remains a big question. Trump's main concern is securing how many resources Ukraine will give to America. Meanwhile, Zelensky has also stated that the Russians are deliberately targeting resource-rich regions.
This isn't about tens of billions. This is trillions of dollars. Now you see why they keep saying they want to take Zaporizhzhia, why they want all of Donetsk. They are not just there for all this blah 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 about protecting the Russian language. No, they are seizing massive resources. And we understand where they've been going, how they've moved south, and what they wanted. Here you have energy, here you have manganese ore, here you have titanium, here you have iron. They've taken control of 20% of Ukraine's nuclear power generation. That's why we're talking with the US. Let's make money together. We would be happy to work with those who defend this. Ukraine has the largest uranium reserves in Europe. If that falls into the hands of Russia, Iran, and North Korea, they'll only get richer.
Friends, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's move on to the situation on the front line, starting with the latest Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region. Ukrainian forces have managed to capture 2 settlements and have made significant progress toward the village of Ulanok. However, despite Russian claims that the Ukrainian forces broke through to the settlement, it seems they were unable to establish a foothold there, and for now the front line has stalled near Fanaseivka. Whether the Ukrainian forces will launch further attacks in this area remains uncertain. However, it looks like this operation was aimed at pushing Russian forces back from Sudzha, which is the key city in this direction. For now, we'll wait and see how events unfold. Zelensky has also commented on the new Ukrainian forces offensive.
In the Kursk operation areas, new assaults have taken place against the Russian army. They have once again brought in North Korean soldiers, and a significant number of them have been eliminated. We're talking about hundreds of Russian and North Korean troops, and this is crucial. Fighting is happening on Russian territory to prevent them from ramping up pressure against our cities and our land. On our front lines, there are 60,000 Russian troops. In Kursk alone, that's 60,000 soldiers who have not been added to the already massive invading forces in Pokrovsk and other directions in Donetsk.
In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians haven't launched any new attacks and the situation remains stable. Meanwhile, in Vovchansk, fighting continues, but there have been no advances over the past day and the situation remains under control. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces have decreased their activity but are still attempting to storm Petropavlivka. However, they have made no progress and the front line remains unchanged. In the Dvorichna area, there is currently a lull after successfully capturing two settlements. Russian forces have halted their advance and are not conducting any new assaults. In the Borova direction, activity remains high. Assaults continue on Boguslavka, Nova Krugliakivka, where the Russian forces attempting to break through near Lozova and storming Zeleny High, Kopanki, and Novosargiyevka. Further south, battles are ongoing for Rakivka, but there have been no changes to the front line. In the Lyman direction, the Russians have significantly intensified their attacks. They are now pushing toward Katerynivka, the village of Lipove, also Zelena Dolina, and Kolodezi. Russian forces are also attempting to break through from the village of Terny and are storming Yampolivka. Additionally, Lyman has come under shelling, but no territorial changes have been recorded in the past 24 hours. This situation is extremely difficult, and we await the outcome of this new large scale wave of attacks. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are storming Bilohorivka and carrying out heavy shelling along the entire front line, but no territorial changes have been recorded so far. In the Chasiv Yar direction, fighting continues in the central part of the city, but the Russians haven't achieved any new successes and the situation remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Donetsk direction, Russian forces have claimed full control over Donetsk and Druzhba. They continue attacking Delievka and advancing beyond Donetsk. While there have been no new changes over the past 24 hours, the situation continues to deteriorate. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians are building on their success in the Baranivka area and advancing through the fields toward Alexandropol. Fighting continues near Myrolyubivka with assaults on the villages of Promin and Lysivka, as well as breakthroughs on the outskirts of Pokrovsk. Clashes are ongoing in the Zvirova area where the Russian forces attempted to advance toward Udachne. However, no territorial changes have been recorded in the past day. In the Kurakhove direction, Russian forces continue to advance with the most critical situation unfolding near the village of Ulakle. Following recent gains, the distance between the opposing front lines has been reduced to just 1 kilometer 800 meters. With such a narrow gap under constant fire, any retreat would be extremely difficult, making the situation catastrophic. Meanwhile, Russian troops persist with assaults from all sides. Over the past 24 hours, there have been no changes, and we're waiting a decision from the General Staff on how to handle this crisis. In the Velika Novosilka direction, the Russians are attempting to break through from Rozdolne while continuing shelling. However, no changes have been recorded in this area so far. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the situation remains relatively calm. The Russians continue shelling, but no offensive actions have been recorded. In the Kherson direction, shelling also persists, but there are no advances over the past 24 hours. The front line has remained unchanged. Overall, we are now waiting to see how events unfold following Trump's discussions with Zelensky and later with Putin. Most likely, this will provide more clarity on when a ceasefire could be expected. What do you think about this? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.